If you look at corporate earnings in the second quarter and indeed in the first quarter, the first half of the year, they've certainly been exceeding expectations and been quite strong. If you look at the figures that particularly packaged goods companies have been given for advertising and promotional spending, they've been stronger than last year. And whilst it's true to say that the comparison to last year was an easy comparison, last year was in the teeth of the recession and in the teeth of fear about the implications of that terrible weekend, the Lehman weekend of September the 13th. 2008. So it was the reaction to that. So we have seen increasing spending. If you look at every major media company that you report on, including, I guess, your own, so you look at News Corp or CBS or Viacom or NBC, they've all been reporting stronger earnings. And that's true not just of the mature markets that you pointed to, America and the traditional media like television and newsprint and magazines, but also throughout the world,
Martin,
BRICS and the next 11.
The advertising industry in general is going through, well, pretty good times compared to some of the other industries. And you're right, a lot of the earnings figures came out from a lot of the American companies. And yet there are some worrying signs. For example, the unemployment data coming out of the U.S., this, existing home sales that we're expecting today. What is your view going forward for the U.S. economy?
But again, if you read our statement carefully, what we say is there are considerable fears at the moment. There are two principal ones. First is Eurozone fiscal contagion, and there's a volatility there on your own station. Views vary from month to month about what's happening. And then, secondly, there's the concern about what's going to happen in the United States in 2011. The Bush tax come to an end. Is the Obama administration going to deal with the deficit? Business taxation, rising taxation rates. Business doesn't contribute a significant amount in terms of tax. Many sectors of the economy are being asked for sacrifices. Unemployment is at 8 to 10% on average in various parts of the world. It is a concern, but what we're seeing is slower rates of growth to what we're used to, but growth, mild expansion. It's a slog in Western Europe. It's greater growth in the BRICS and next 11. And indeed America at this point in time. There is uncertainty, and again, we point that out in the statement quite strongly. There are many degrees of uncertainty. But if you look at corporate liquidity, if you look at corporate activity in terms of bid activity, mild, but still some significant transactions being looked at, like BHP and potash, these sorts of things are indicative of a degree of confidence among CEOs without wanting to go too far by promising too much.
Yeah, of course, and you have to be cautiously optimistic because, of course, you never know really what the future brings. In terms of the clients that want to spend, by looking at your statement, there's an increase in traditional advertising. What are your clients that actually want to get the message out there, which maybe were a little bit more scared 1 or 2 years ago in the middle of the recession?
Well, it's across the board, Francine. I mean, it's not just traditional media, but it's also digital. I mean, what has happened is it's in comparison to the first half of last year, and we've seen a bounce in traditional media, as you see, as I've said, from the big media companies and their earnings reports. We've seen a bounce in America, even in markets in Western Europe like Germany. The world's moving at different speeds, but at the moment it's moving in a similar direction. Even in the slower growth markets of Western Europe like France and Italy and Spain and even the UK, we've seen a little bit of a bounce. And that's continued sequentially as we've gone through the year from January to July.
Can you give me some industry groups? Is it the banking sector that is getting back on its feet when you look at advertising? Is it, on the other hand, the automotive sector? I mean, where do you see the most strength coming from your clients?
Some media owners are referring to auto wars already, and we are seeing significant increases in activity, not back to the levels they were pre the Lehman crisis, but significant increases in activity in telecommunications and financial services, in packaged goods. As I mentioned before, advertising and promotion is up, maybe more promotion than advertising, but certainly activity is stronger. Travel is still under pressure. Airlines are still under pressure. Government obviously is cutting back a bit, but we've seen significant government activity in association with the fiscal and monetary stimulus that we've seen post-Lehman crisis. So it's pretty much autos, packaged goods, financial services, telecoms and technology.
Will you be able to increase in the second half of the year in terms of the revenue or the profit? Do you believe that this trend coming from your clients will continue and will continue at the same strength that it is at the moment?
Well, again, as we said in the statement, we started off the budget for this year at flat revenues. We took the Q1 revised forecast up to 2%. The Q2 revised forecast, we didn't refer to a specific number in the statement, but it is up to 4%. So we're seeing a strengthening in the top line. We've managed our costs extremely effectively. It's a difficult time. Headcount has been reduced, but we've started to hire again in the first half of the year by about 1.5% against a point-to-point fall in headcount last year of about 12%. So it was severe last year, and we're picking up a bit now as we invest, particularly in the faster growth regions of the world.
Sir Martin, is there anything that you would like to buy? Are you on the acquisitive trail? I mean, it seems that valuation in certain sectors, or certainly in the emerging markets, may be attractive. Do you believe they're attractive?
Well, we continue to make acquisitions. In the first half of the year, we picked up a number of acquisitions, small to medium sized. We've constrained ourselves to about £100 million a year post-TNS. We put that into place for 2009, 2010. On pricing, the US remains a market where pricing is quite high. Some of the transactions by some of those traditional media owners and some of our Japanese and Korean competitors in the US, the prices paid have been extremely high. And we're seeing some increase in pricing in emerging markets, or faster growth markets as we call them, like China and Brazil. And some of those prices are also, I think, a little unrealistic. In China, for example, the gem market, the new IPO market, has raised prices quite significantly, and Brazil has become quite hot very recently, and there are one or two transactions there which we think are significantly overpriced. But we'll continue to look at that, as we will share buybacks, and as we will increasing our dividend. We increased our dividend, as you saw today, by 15%.
Sir Martin,